The thing that I love is the fact that these instructors put learning into real action. No big cold lecture halls for these instructors. They involve themselves and their students in the lives of their communities. So whether they're teaching on the road in a rolling science lab, writing poems in a laundromat, performing physics demos, or singing the blues in class, I love that. These are four incredibly interesting faculty members. In order to meet each of them, we've asked them to be introduced by the ones who know and appreciate their work best, their students. So our first Educator of the Year award goes to Paul Carney, who teaches English at Minnesota State Community and Technical College in Fergus Falls. To introduce Mr. Carney, a former student who later worked with him in her chosen profession as a web designer. Here from Bemidji is Samantha Nino.
Thank you, Kathy. I've always wanted to say that. That's Kathy Wurzer. Wow, I am so happy to be here today. I'm so honored to be here. Paul Carney gives a damn. That's why he makes a difference. And that's why he's made a difference in my life and continues to positively influence classrooms of students every year. I met Paul Carney about 15 years ago when he was my college English instructor at M State Fergus Falls. I knew that Mr. Carney genuinely cared about my success, judging by the amount of red ink on my papers. In class, he worked to connect with students by knowing our names, interjecting humor into his lessons, and covering our papers again in the margins with lots of red ink with helpful suggestions. This honest and transparent feedback was a gift that many of us had not received before. His classes were not easy A's. He challenged us to work hard, think critically, be curious, and present our ideas in creative, unpredictable ways. Our goal, we learned, was to become competent communicators, not just earn a particular letter grade. Mr. Carney's influence on me was perhaps even greater after I graduated. About 6 years ago, I had the tremendous opportunity to work with him to create the Ready or Not website, a tool that allows high school students to find out if their writing is college ready. Paul knows that students whose writing skills are lacking are more apt to do poorly in college courses and might very well give up on college altogether. Without a college diploma, life options become severely limited. Paul is a big picture thinker. He worked to help more students outside his classroom, realize more of their potential. Through this project, I became to appreciate, respect, and admire Mr. Carney on a different level. His persistent commitment in preparing high school students for post-secondary education success guided him through hundreds of hours of research, gathering input from teachers and students, poring over wireframe website functionality specs, and of course, revising until the program was just right. He gave a damn. Just as Paul doesn't let his students work for only a letter grade, he strives beyond what is required of him. He's dedicated his career to helping others succeed in and beyond the classroom. That is why Paul Carney is an outstanding educator.
you think about this moment and then it occurs, and right now it's pretty close to what I was expecting, but when I look at this table here and I see my brothers and Cindy Christ and my friends who are, one of them's my contractor, if I weren't standing here looking at that, I would think it was photoshopped, because these people would never find themselves at an occasion together. Maybe my funeral, but other than that, I think this would be it. So it's my heart is hemorrhaging right now with gratitude, and I'm just very, very grateful. First, I want to say thank you, Samantha. And I apologize for all of the revisions that we did on Ready or Not Writing. I do have difficulty letting go of text. To me, a draft is always alive, and it's very difficult. Even now, I can't look at the portfolio because I want to change things. So I'm really proud of you and where your talents have taken you. And Samantha really embodies what the Chancellor said earlier about graduates being innovative and stunningly creative. That's what Samantha is all about. I'd like to recognize the presence of my brothers, Dr. Michael Carney, Dr. Patrick Carney and his wife, and Judge Thomas Carney. I really appreciate your presence here. I also want to congratulate the fellow outstanding educators. It's an honor to be included among such exemplary professionals. On the cover of my portfolio is a lantern hooked on the end with a question mark. This image illustrates a metaphor that was posed by the late Irish poet and philosopher John O'Donohue in the title of his essay, "The Question Holds the Lantern." Nothing energizes me more than a problem, a conundrum, a dilemma, something that bothers or befuddles me. Under these conditions of cognitive friction, questions ignite lanterns that illuminate pathways which lead to unexpected, revelatory, sometimes uncomfortable truths. What does college-ready writing look like? How might we bring the personal pulse of poetry into the rural landscape? Does completion mean competency? For me, the problem is always more interesting than the solution. The elusive is more enticing than the conclusive. The abstract is more engaging than the absolute. Learning is not so much about the acquisition of knowledge as it is the activation of it within new, relevant, and challenging contexts. My role, my responsibility as an educator is not only to model and facilitate this process, but also to extol its immediate and latent rewards. When it comes to writing, I hope my students learn to become curious about their writing and the many options available to them in shaping language and summoning their voice. I remind them that when they get stuck during a writing task, then they're probably doing something right. They likely have reached a juncture in the process that requires pausing, stepping away, and then returning to make a decision that may well change several minutes later. This is what writing is. To me, it's about making decisions, multiple decisions, and going back to that living draft. So I do try to impress upon my students that some mild dissatisfaction is actually a good sign. In closing, I must acknowledge those individuals who have supported me in formulating, refining, and sometimes begrudgingly discarding my questions. From the Minnesota Writing Project, represented here today by Muriel Thompson, one of its founders and now its director, and Mary Beth Blagan, also a founding member, who in 1996 went on to become the National Teacher of the Year. I've learned that as teachers of writing, we must share and celebrate our writing with each other and with our students. Our students need to see us under those moments of discovery, anguish, decisions. From the Minnesota Department of Education, represented here today by my friend Sharon Tierney, the department's language arts specialist, I've learned so much about Minnesota's K-12 language arts standards. These are things I needed to know if I was going to explore college readiness. Listening to our K-12 colleagues is critical. And now the Common Core, which is on the horizon. I consider the department's Roseville office a home away from home. And from my Minnesota State College and Minnesota State Community and Technical College, represented here today by President Dr. Peggy Kennedy, who was the motivation to get our college to submit some portfolios this year. And then our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Kathy Brock, who made sure that our submissions were well before the deadline. I appreciate that. And also a colleague and valued friend, Karen Michelson, who has supported and encouraged me. I am the unfinished product of the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities system and the Center for Teaching and Learning. Had it not been for Cindy Christ's guidance and wisdom, Linda Milne's scholarship and vision, and Mike Lopez's leadership and support, Ready or Not Writing would be but an unrealized idea. I have asked many questions, but these are the people who have fueled and refueled the lanterns. Finally, I wish to thank Chancellor Rosenstone, Vice Chancellor Knowlton, and the Board of Trustees for bestowing this honor upon me and for providing the opportunities to pursue the questions that hold the lanterns. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul Carney. Thank you from one who uses words to one who understands and celebrates good writing. We thank you for that. Our second Educator of the Year award goes to Sean Meskey from Ridgewater College in Wilmer. To introduce Mr. Meskey, we're joined by a former student who's now one of his faculty colleagues in the biology department. I hope you'll welcome Lori Anderson.
Good afternoon. I was asked by my dean to keep this under 90 minutes, so I'm going to actually read what I have written here. Hello everyone, my name is Lori Anderson, and I'm a former student and current colleague, it's been 8 years already, of Sean Meskey. After a number of false starts taking college courses after high school, working a number of part-time jobs and having 2 of my 3 children, I returned to college. Being away from school for a number of years, I was very nervous about taking college classes, let alone the dreaded science classes. I decided to go to Ridgewater College because it was small class sizes, they had a comfortable atmosphere, and the supportive and welcoming attitude of the people that I met on my tour was a key component. Sean was my general biology instructor for 2 semesters. Looking back, I now realize that those were probably the most important semesters of my college career. Not only did Sean teach me the foundations of biology, he instilled in me the foundations of what it means to be a great teacher. I was lucky enough to travel to Costa Rica with Sean once as a student and later as a faculty member. These trips gave me an interesting perspective regarding Sean's teaching methods, first as a student learning from him, and later as a faculty member watching other students learn from him. His passion for engaging his students in learning about the natural world is evident in everything he does in and out of the classroom. Sean has an energetic and commanding presence in the classroom without making it obvious that he is indeed demanding your attention. He keeps students focused and interested by using real-life situations to describe even the most complex of cellular functions. For example, I remember him using the game of baseball to explain enzyme function to an athletics student who sat behind me in the classroom. Now, if only he could use enzyme function to explain football to me, maybe I could play in the fantasy football league. I am honored to introduce to you today my teacher, my colleague, my mentor, and my friend, Sean Meskey.
I love this profession. We have time restraints. I don't usually work with notes, but as a director, apparently, of a movie, I'm going to use a script that's going to keep me approximately 5 minutes. But thanks for this honor, and thank you, Lori, for the kind words. I'm very proud of you as an instructor. I'm a biology instructor, and I've been dealing with the nature-nurture argument in my courses over my entire career. Discussions like, are we influenced by 70% nature, 30% nurture, or vice versa? I'm not focusing on that today, but I'll begin by thanking my parents for their genetic contributions to making me the instructor that I am today. I think I was born to teach, but what I'm going to actually share with you today is a bit about the nurture contributions that have helped me become the instructor I am today. So I'm going to put on my metaphoric pom-poms and share a bit about a system that has nurtured me throughout my career. My personal journey is not unlike many of our students. I grew up with very humble beginnings. My family actually was very poor, and no one had ever gone to college, let alone completed a degree. I actually remember my grandmother telling me that we were not the kind of people that go to college, and I should try to go into the labor force and maybe work my way up to a supervisor position or possibly management if I was lucky. But a neighbor told me that he thought I was a smart kid and I should go to college. A college education, as he said, was the only ticket out of poverty. It was his words and many high school teachers that believed in me that pushed me to apply to college. Like many of our students, I became a first-generation student in the MnSCU system. I started at Southwest State fresh out of high school. I had outstanding instructors who believed in me and my dreams of becoming a genetic counselor at the time. After my bachelor's degree, my major professor said I should consider continuing my education, and I took her advice and attended Mankato State University, enrolling in a master's program in biology, and obtained a research assistantship. It did not work out, and so in order to continue my studies, I had to do a teaching assistantship. And during that time preparing for biology laboratories, I realized that I loved teaching. I got actually a really high from watching students get a concept for the first time. And if you've never done that, you don't know what kind of motivation that is. Those light bulb moments were addicting. And I realized that I had found my calling. All of my education had led to a change of career paths. I would become a teacher, specifically a community college instructor. I decided that I would try to give back to the system that provided me with my education and credentials. I received my master's in biology with an emphasis in community college education in 1993. MnSCU actually had provided me with the tools to reach my dreams of teaching biology at a community college. And little did I know, MnSCU would also allow me the opportunity to fulfill that dream soon after graduation. Wilmer Community College took a chance on a 23-year-old biology instructor fresh out of school, and I started teaching even before I had finished my master's thesis. Wilmer Community College later became Ridgewater College, and I've been teaching there ever since. I owe a great debt of gratitude to the MnSCU system and to Ridgewater College. I've been trying to pay it forward every day since 1993. Ridgewater College continues to nurture me as an instructor, and I want to offer thanks to the forces that helped create the instructor standing before you today. I'm a product of the students, staff, administration, and faculty that I've had the opportunity to work with throughout my career. I'll start with the students. They make every day a blessing. I truly look forward to every day in the classroom. Watching students learn new concepts remains addicting. Giving students the tools necessary to achieve their dreams is why we are all in the business of education. I look for the potential in every student and push them to achieve. I set the bar high, and the students never disappoint in achieving those heights. I truly hope that I've been able to reach some students and instill the confidence to achieve like the inspirational teachers that I had in my past. My career can truly be marked as successful if I've made a difference in at least one student's life. I generally care about my students and their success. And matter of fact, the student's success is the most rewarding part of teaching profession. So I thank my students. I've learned much from you, and I have much more to learn. From maintenance workers and secretaries to student services and financial office workers, I have been very fortunate to work with the most helpful and dedicated support staff. Student learning is enhanced with excellent support staff, and on more than one occasion I have been saved by support staff. And I know that all students, administration, and faculty would have to admit the same. So thank you, support staff, for the differences you make every day. Over my career, I've seen several administrators, from deans to presidents at Ridgewater College, and all of them have supported creative and innovative ideas from faculty without fail, including my own. I've been able to explore new curriculum, grant proposals, sabbaticals with unwavering administrative support. Many would talk about the conflicts between administration and faculty, but I have found even if we disagree on how to get to an end goal, we do agree on the betterment of our institutions. So thank you, administrators, for doing an important job that can seem thankless at times. And finally, my fellow faculty. I've worked with a multitude of brilliant faculty from all over the MnSCU system. All the faculty I've had the pleasure of working with throughout my career face the daily battle of relevance with passion and conviction. They create rich learning environments. They all have the desire to change students' lives. I applaud all your efforts, whether mentoring new faculty, collaborating on educational innovations, designing curriculum, creating new assessment tools, advising, entertaining. The list can continue, providing that occasional shoulder for a student to cry on, advocating, serving your communities to improve the lives of present and future students, or supporting your fellow union brothers and sisters through IFO or MSCF. You are all outstanding. Thank you, faculty. I look forward to many more years with you. In closing, I am very proud to be a product of the MnSCU system and remain dedicated to improving the lives of students. On behalf of all the students, staff, administration, and faculty that have helped nurture me as the educator standing before you, I thank you for this honor.
Sean Muskie, ladies and gentlemen. I think, Sean, you're right. You were born to teach, and we're glad you're changing the lives of students. Next, we are very happy to recognize Dr. Rod Milbrandt, a physics instructor who teaches both physics and pre-engineering at Rochester Community and Technical College. Rod's former student, Tony Rube, is now finishing his electrical engineering degree at MSU Mankato. Please welcome Tony Rube.
Hello, my name is Tony. I'm a computer engineering major from Minnesota State University, Mankato, formerly a student from Rochester Community and Technical College. When I hear outstanding educator, many come to mind. But however, I'm here to talk about just one. I first met Dr. Milbrandt in 2007 at RCTC when taking his physics course. I have since taken 3 classes with him, had him as a supervisor in the physics lab, and have gone on several club trips with him. Dr. Milbrandt, otherwise known as Rod to most of his students, has had a great influence in my academic life, as he's had for many others. Rod has presented challenges to me and all of his students in such a way that made us want to learn more. A requirement of Rod's class was to complete and present a project of our choice. So my group built a trebuchet, a rather large trebuchet, I might add. In doing so, we learned many things. Among them was use a brightly colored ball so we could find it later. Rod encourages students to join the Physics and Engineering Club. The club is responsible for an annual physics demo show, which has gained notoriety throughout the Rochester community. The demo show encourages students to develop demonstrations that the general community can understand and learn from. It also serves, It also helps reinforce concepts students learned in class by designing and presenting these demonstrations. Many times, we found ourselves debugging and fixing these demonstrations backstage many minutes before the show starts, and sometimes while we are presenting the demonstration. This teaches troubleshooting skills, something I use every day when deadlines are coming. Rod is not only an outstanding educator in the classroom, he is outstanding at helping students after they leave his class. When a student transfers, he works with the faculty and staff at the receiving institution to make sure the credits from RCTC transfer as they should. In my case, he not only called and spoke with my department chair, he did so over Skype while on sabbatical in Prague. Ladies and gentlemen, it is for these reasons and many more why it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you my professor, mentor, and friend, Dr. Rod Milbrandt, as an outstanding educator.
I'd like to begin by saying thanks to Tony. Working with students like Tony is really what this job is all about, and it's tremendously rewarding, so thank you very much. And in fact, I'm going to start out with the thank yous. There are a lot of them, so I'm going to try and keep it pretty brief. To my friends and colleagues, some of whom are here, who have been inspirational to me, and sometimes listen to me talk on and on. I'd like to actually thank Kay Davis, who I taught with at a community college in Kansas, who first got me started into demo shows and science clubs, which has become a big thing for me. I'd like to thank the RCTC administration, Don and Mike and Nirmala, for their support. One memorable thing, Don, was actually when you intervened on my behalf to have open flames allowed in the sports center for the STEM Summit. So I appreciate that. And then to my family who are here today, my parents and stepmother, for their love and support through the years, and my wife especially, who's here today, Sharisa, for putting up with some of those evenings when I was either prepping or working on a demo show or planning a trip or something like that. So, and then finally the students, of whom Tony is a fine representative, who it is a joy to work with every day. And, I think for most of us in this profession is what keeps us going, is that interaction with the students. So how did I end up here today? That's a long and kind of winding story. But I was one of those kids who always asked why. I think to the point where it drove my parents crazy. But I was always asking why. And my mother actually picked up a library book that was being discarded when I was very young that was called What Makes the Wheels Go Round. I now realize today it was aimed at, it's sort of a physics book addressed at kids, and I just loved it. And it led to something that has never left me, which is a sort of a sense of amazement and wonder at the patterns that can be found in nature, and you know, all of the things that we can learn from that. So it kind of got me started on that path. I'm a person who didn't know that I wanted to teach from day one. I really hadn't grown up knowing any teachers other than the ones I had in school. I went to graduate school, and in the usual way, they made me a TA. Something that I think I wasn't very good at first, but it got so that I realized I really enjoyed it. And I ended up realizing through that experience that I wanted to teach, and I really got a lot out of it. So I've aimed to be the teacher that I would have liked to have had myself, I think. That's been part of my goal, and to make a difference. So I have to say that I've, you know, I think as a lot of us would say, I've evolved a lot in my teaching. It's something that I think is never a finished work. I mean, it's something that's always ongoing. There are some professional meetings that I go to of the physics teachers that have been really wonderful in helping me. So a lot of the stuff that I do, I have not originated myself. I've taken good ideas from other places, which I think is important to know. You know, there's an idea sometimes that teaching is this inborn skill, but I think it's important to realize that yes, you can really learn about it and become better, which has certainly, I hope, been true with me. I believe that students, you know, I believe in the capabilities of the students, and I think that, as our earlier speaker was saying, that the teacher's job, I guess as I would see it, is to be a catalyst and to help promote an environment where learning can occur, and that where people are, you know, where the students feel free to speak up, to ask questions, where no questions off limits, and hopefully also, as you've heard, I've been heavily involved with a club and with these demonstration shows. One thing that's been found with science students is that oftentimes there's a lack of community that can prevent them, and especially in the case of women and minorities, from achieving as much because they feel isolated. And so I think the club has been a very useful way in the demonstration shows that's allowed many of these students to bond, some of these trips that we take, and has formed maybe a learning community, you could say it. It's been a lot less formal than that. But so my hope is to share my enthusiasm for physics, as I've said, to get students excited, to do outreach to the general public. I am a big believer in relating things to the real world, and that's a theme that's come up here today before. But for me, I think all too often when I was probably studying, you know, there would be this material in a textbook that was rather dry and disconnected from what was really going on in the world. So a real goal of mine is to try and tie what students are doing into, you know, things in their everyday lives, or things that they're excited about, or maybe the physics in a movie, something like that, and to analyze that. And the student projects that Tony mentioned are definitely part of that as well, where students get to focus on something that they are really interested in and pursue that. And I think that has been a good thing. I haven't always done this. Like I say, this has been a process of trying things out and, you know, seeing how did the students respond and did they learn, and then incorporating that. I do have, as a central goal, wanting students to feel that I care about them and their education. So that is something that I try and convey in various ways. And I guess I would have to say that I have to say that I'm lucky to be able to do what I love. That is something that I'm very grateful for. I do enjoy going to work every day and working with the students. Maybe grading sometimes gets to be a little bit of a drag. But I really do enjoy working with the students every day and coming up with new things. I do appreciate this recognition as well, and so I'm very grateful for this and humbled. I think there are several other people who I know, some of whom are sitting here, who could or maybe should be up here on stage. Maybe they will be in the future. So I'm very humbled by that. And I'd like to finish up, you know, since I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but I have a little demo. And it works best when it's dark, so we'll see if this works. But let's see if you can see this at all. It should look like sort of a dim light. see any sort of colors in there? All right, you have to imagine that it's dark. This would work much better. So it would be white light, and then you see the flickering as it goes around. I had to do one demo. I had thought about getting a sheet of plywood and some balloons and having the trustees stand on that, but thank you very much.
We were kind of hoping for some smoke and flames. I don't know about you, but you did a great job. Thank you, Dr. Milbrand. Congratulations. Our fourth and final honoree is Phyllis Balata, who is also an English teacher right here in the Metro at Century College in White Bear Lake. Phyllis will be introduced by a student, Tina Letourneau, who took freshman composition with Ms. Balata and came back to study ethics and environments with her. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tina Letourneau.
Well, it's definitely a long walk from that side of the room. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 1 year ago, in the spring semester of 2011, I walked into a class that I've dreaded since high school, English composition, with the typed sentences on the syllabus that included the words drafting, editing, revision, formal essays, and citations. Let me be honest, I wasn't too enthusiastic about the class. However, as I sat there listening to my new professor, Ms. Phyllis Balata, a woman who clearly radiated a passion for what she would be teaching to the room full of students, I somehow knew that she would help me to overcome my personal fears and writing insecurities. Ms. Balata taught me how to improve my writing by practicing, revising, and creating a final product that I could be proud of. Her advice of every choice counts in the end has helped me to organize the complex mental, process of writing and use it to my benefit. I have a lot to thank Ms. Balata for. Her teaching style, knowledge, creativeness has inspired me in many ways. She has given me the confidence to write essays that have helped me to accomplish many of my own personal goals. Ms. Phyllis Balata, with her most welcoming attitude and smile, her dedication and willingness to sacrifice her time for her students in order to help them learn, is what puts her above and beyond. She is outstanding because through her motivating and challenging curriculum, she provides students with that solid foundation that is needed to apply to their future goals to better themselves, not just her. Now, I'm not just saying these things because she is also my current professor in English 2095. My grade could be in jeopardy. I am saying these things because Ms. Balata's qualities as a teacher, they're abundant, they're amazing, and they're something that most people hope to acquire and apply to their own professions. I'm honored to be here today to celebrate the accomplishment of a woman that has inspired me and changed my life. Please let me introduce Ms. Phyllis Balata.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was going to be so loud. Thank you. This is a celebration of those who care. You are those who care for others and care for the future. Your examples of skill and love are gifts to your students now and to all of us together for the days to come. Living as though there is a tomorrow. When I Googled that as a possible title for my last book, I assumed that surely that title would have been already used, but no. Our culture apparently prefers living as though there is no tomorrow. Our culture's short-term thinking emphasizes what we want right now, and it has led to an economic crash because in the imaginary world of those obsessed with power and money for today, for themselves, the losses of potential and the crashes of tomorrow are not of concern. But you, as teachers, see the long term. You teach with the future in mind. What will this student be equipped with? What choices will be possible for him or her next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Based on what I do today, what will the results be down the road that this student will travel? How will what I do today create and reinforce not only knowledge and skill, but also work ethic and courage and love of learning and caring for others? Here in this room, we know that our work has a long reach into tomorrow. We know that we are creating the future by our choices. Each of us chooses whether to think of and care about others and the common good. When my son Bill was young, he loved to sing Garth Brooks songs. He still does, actually. Our students' situations right now remind me of the song Wolves. This song was sung in the recession of the early 90s, and it is about the Great Depression, but it's just as true today in our economic troubles, when at Century and probably at your colleges too. The number of students struggling with poverty has doubled in the last 5 years to over 50%. The singer tells about riding out to bring the herd down out of a storm and closer in to lower ground. He says, "Then I spent the morning thinking about the ones the wolves pull down." Do we choose to spend time thinking about the ones the wolves pull down? In the community and technical colleges, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Often our students are the ones struggling in the back of the herd, and we are trying to bring them in to safety in the storms of their lives. The singer remembers a friend and his family who have lost their places to the banks. I spent a long time thinking about the ones the wolves pulled down. When we think of our future and our choices as a society, I hope more of us copy the community and technical colleges where we care about the future and we aim for the common good that helps all of us together. Our students are a mixture, especially in the two-year colleges, of course. They're all ages, many in their 30s and 40s, coming back to school, many brilliant and skillful who might have been lost for a while. But there's a new group of students that I've seen for the first time in the last 3 or 4 years. They're smart, perfectly capable of succeeding in college, polite, apparently well off. They always come to class, but they don't do anything. Not anything. This is a new thing. I've been teaching for more than 30 years, and these are not the normal students of the past who knew they were going to fail if they didn't do their work. These students seem surprised that no effort leads to failure. But my friends, we cannot do this. This is a bad sign. These are students who don't have a future because they are passive. They make a choice of making no choice. They wait for whatever may occur. We can't create the future that way. From our youngest to our oldest in our culture, we need one that believes in living as though there is a tomorrow. Knowledge is necessary and good, but we also need heart and spirit and hands to create the future based on love of others, love of life, and personal responsibility, not based on greed or self-centeredness or anger or fear. Community and technical colleges exist for second chances, a uniquely American thing. They are created a long time ago by those who believe that no one should be thrown away or thrown to the wolves. Although Leopold said, "We grieve only for what we know," a powerful connection of the heart that grieves and the head that knows. We in this room know. We know the ones the wolves are close to pulling down, and we grieve for them, but we don't stop. We drive them into a safer place by teaching, modeling, mentoring, and caring. We don't leave them alone. We demand work. We believe in the power of education to help them create the future for themselves and for all of us together. Teachers, by nature of their work, have unique power, different from all other forms of power. This is what you do. Enable hundreds, even thousands of students of all ages to choose the future. The one who plants the tree may never get to sit in the shade, but the future tree exists because you plant and you water, knowing that there is a tomorrow. You make a difference, creating whole human beings, thinking citizens, knowledgeable and skillful contributors to society. You are the ones who know. You are the ones who grieve. You are the ones who act for the future of all of us together. We are grateful for this opportunity to thank you, to encourage you, and to celebrate your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for showing your students that they can have a bright future. And now you know why I come back every year. Now you know why I came back for the 6th year, because it's always an education and an honor to meet these incredible teachers. Before I bring up Vice Chancellor Doug Knowlton for some closing remarks, I'm going to remind all of the trustees and the outstanding educators, the educators of the year, and their college presidents to head over just as soon as we wrap up to the photography area that's inside the ballroom for official photos. So get yourself all dolled up and get ready to go, because we've got some official photographs to take. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I wish you all good final exams and happy commencements. Vice Chancellor Doug Knowlton, it is your turn, sir. Thank you.
I was told originally that I had the sort of final words, and now I was told that those final words need to be a word. We are running a little long, and so I will try to do this as quickly as I can, but there are some things we want to do, which is mostly to say thank you. We want to say thank you to Kathy Werzer for, again, such an icon for this state to be here with us is such an honor. Thank you, Kathy. We understand the importance of this event. We understand the good work. It reminds us of our deepest values and what we do, and on behalf of our students, what the value is of education. It is good for us to celebrate and to remember this work and to take the time out, particularly in times which are challenging. This is the 6th year for these awards, and I am thankful that this is my first opportunity to be here. It has become a tradition that I hope will go on and on. There are a few former educators of the year here today what we'd like to invite to stand. Donald Graves from Hibbing Community College, 2007. If they're here, please stand, Donald. Michelle Neaton, Century College, 2007. Chris Austin, Normandale Community College, 2009. Chris. Ernie Parker, Hennepin Technical College, 2009. Paula Cronquist, Anoka Ramsey Community College, 2010. And Pamela Whitfield, Rochester Community and Technical College, 2010. A lot of people on campuses get involved. I want you to understand that, for example, at Anoka Ramsey alone, President Jesse Stump's committee received 115 nominations and had to select only 2 outstanding educators. This is similar on all of our campuses. Please, when you go back to your campuses, remember that there are hundreds of faculty that are doing this kind of work out on our campuses. Finally, I want to thank some people who around the system who have made this program possible. On pages 22 and 23 of your program lists many of those who have helped with this year's awards, but there are many others at campus levels, presidents, nominators, staff, committee chairs who make this happen. And I'm going to thank one person who will be angry with me for doing this, but Linda Milne on our staff, who really does the yeoman's work to put this together. And I don't know where Linda is, but thank you for coming out today. All of us at MnSCU, through Chancellor Rosenstone's leadership, have been involved in a lot of conversations about it. But here you've helped us to make visible what extraordinary education is. Before you leave, please take a chance to talk with these outstanding educators, and as Chair Thiss said, review those portfolios and be astonished. It is a day for thanks, it is a day for inspiration, it is a day for renewal, it is a day for celebration, it is a day to say thank you. Have a great day and safe travel.